spelt berries. You can also use the hard white winter wheat berries if you want to in this recipe, or even kamut, one of the other ancient grains. And so we're going to actually end up with a whole wheat potato bread. We're going to begin by putting our spelt berries into the grain mill. And these actually pretty much about 1 cup of berries equals 1.5 cups of ground flour. So that kind of helps you when you're converting recipes. If you need 3 cups of flour, you're going to need about 2 cups of the wheat berries, whichever kind you're using. So this is going to be a 5-loaf recipe, possibly a 6. So I'm actually going to be putting 10 cups of wheat berries in here. But I will post the recipe on the bottom for just a single recipe. So I'm going to dump these in to our grain mill here. Get those spread out. And then we're going to grind our flour and get started. Okay, so our flour has come out of the grain mill and it is light and fluffy. So we have got our ground flour there, and again we're using spelt. And I'm actually going to have some leftover potatoes here. If you don't have leftover mashed potatoes, you can actually use just boil potato and use the water that you're going to cook the potato in. It actually makes the bread even more tender if you want to use the potato water. But I'm just going to use some leftover potatoes. So you can even use leftover mashed potatoes for dinner, even if they already have the butter and salt in them. So anyway, we're just starting with some unsalted ones here. And so I'm going to put in 4 cups of very warm water. Okay. And we're going to add our potatoes, which is 3.5 cups in there. So all going in together. I will post the recipe for a single recipe as well, because this one is going to make quite a lot. And we're going to do hamburger buns and some loaf bread and rolls out of this. You need 1/2 cup of melted butter. We're going to do 1/2 cup of some local honey here. And again, if you put your oil in that cup before you do the honey, it helps it to come out more easily. Okay. I'm going to do a tablespoon of salt right in the water. And now we're going to add our flour. This recipe calls anywhere from 10 cups if you're using a Bosch mixer to all the way up to 14 cups of flour. We're going to adjust the flour amount by, of course, how it looks and sounds in the bowl. So we're going to start with 10 cups because that is the base minimum. If you're using a single recipe, you're going to use about 3 to 4 cups of flour, so it's okay if you're doing like a bread machine or a KitchenAid that you can just go ahead and put in 3 cups or close to it all at once, and then you can adjust from there. So I'm just going to put about what I think. I actually lost count just now, so we're just going to put in there what I know I need to cover. So we're going to make the same little well in the flour. Katie, if you could show that, just make sure that the flour, whether you're using a bread machine or using a mixer of some kind, that you want the water, the liquid all covered. So I'm going to actually put in 3 tablespoons of yeast. Now if you're using packets of yeast from the grocery store, a packet is about a scant tablespoon of yeast, so I tend to buy the yeast in 1-pound packages. It's much cheaper that way, and I can get the brand that I like. So we're actually just going to put the lid on, and we're going to turn it on speed 1 and get ready to add some flour. I'm going to let that mix. How soupy that is. We know we're not close yet, so we're going to add some flour, a cup at a time, until we see a transition here. Today's a little bit damp outside, so we're probably going to need a little more flour. If you're making this on a warm summer day, you might need a little less. So just let the machine kind of tell you what it needs, or just by sight, you can look at the dough. Even if you see some clinging to itself there. We're getting close, but we're not finished, so we're going to keep adding some flour. Starting to see that pull away from the column in the center. That's what we're wanting. And now we're really close, so I'm just going to do this cup. Almost not all of it, because once you get to this part, see how he's cleaning the sides of the bowl now? We don't want to over flour. You can always take and add a little more flour, but you can't take it out. So try to be careful. If you get it too dry at this point, you have really dense bread, or it will rise, but it will fall while it's baking. Well, that is it. And we're just going to put the lid on. And this is actually going to mix on speed 1 for 5 minutes. We have our dough. I've just turned it out from the bowl. Now this recipe is a little stickier, if you can see here, than the regular whole wheat bread recipe. That's part of the secret for it being so tender. So I actually put flour down on the counter. Unlike the other recipes where I spray the counter, I wanted to incorporate a little more flour into this one. So I got this just kind of in a big ball here, and I sprayed the counter around, and I'm just gonna flip it over. You can see how it's kind of a little sticky, but that is, again, what makes it really tender. So I'm just gonna take this and dip it in a little flour, and we're just gonna cut this into sections, because we're gonna do some hamburger buns and some potato rolls, and probably just a loaf of potato bread as well. And even if you don't have the need for that much bread like we do, because there's 9 in our family, well 8 now, you can still freeze this bread. It actually, to me, sometimes is even better when it's thawed out in the freezer. So don't feel like you can't make the recipe because you just would never eat that much bread. But I will post below the single recipe as well. So I'm just gonna pinch up some of this dough here. And I'm getting some flour on my hands because I've already gotten them sticky. And I'm just gonna, and you can even just roll that little bit that you've pinched off because it was sticky there. And you're just gonna, kind of like you're making biscuits, but you're just gonna tuck them a little more, or rolls. And then you're just gonna use your hands to shape them out. Now, if you like really large hamburger buns or sandwich rolls, you can actually, the closer you put these together and the thicker they are, the higher they will rise up. But my family kind of likes them more like the traditional buns, so not too big and thick. These are gonna double in size, so you're still gonna have a pretty good amount there. So this just helps me kind of keep a rough idea of how much bread I need to use to roll out to get what I want out of it, which is why I cut that. And I'm just gonna give that a little roll because my hands are sticky. And you're just gonna flatten it out into the shape of a hamburger bun. Now I put these apart on the cookie sheet. If you want them to rise up tall, you would place them closer together. They like a crust on ours on each one, so I tend to just put 6 or 7 on a cookie sheet. And I'm gonna finish rolling these out, and then we'll go on to the potato. So now I'm just gonna put this little egg wash on there and let these rise for 20 minutes as well. We're just gonna shape this last bit of dough into a potato bread as a loaf. And I've actually gotten 2 of those, so that made a lot of dough. But the good thing is you can freeze it, like I said, and we're just gonna let these rise for 20 minutes as well. So here's what we have gotten out of the potato bread recipe. I've actually gotten 2 loaves of bread, which makes delicious sandwiches. We had about 12 dinner rolls, and then I think I got 8 or 10 of these hamburger buns. Again, if you want the hamburger buns to be bigger this way instead of flattened out, you would just put them in the pan close together, and that's going to give the volume to the center of the roll. So it's however you like them. We just prefer them this way. And there's not a lot of difference in the flavor of this bread. It's more about texture. It's very difficult to get whole wheat bread light and airy, and this is just a neat little trick. If you put the potatoes in when you have them, it just makes the bread a little more soft in texture than normal. If you decide to give this recipe a try, just comment below. I'd love to hear from you.